Okay, great. So good to see whoever could join. And this webinar today, it's such a short life. It's dedicated to automatic, the understanding of these phrases, automatic and conscious parenting, and relating to the very early ages, 0 to 3. So during the summer, I decided to once a week to open up such subject that in a way is updating ourselves as parents, can open our minds, can bring new revelations, understandings that can help us in the everyday managing, working, being, helping our children to grow, helping ourselves to grow as parents. So in the previous life, I spoke about the new children, their sensitivities, their many presents that they bring. And basically in this very important and special time of evolution on this planet, they are bringing the next step for us. And we have our own way to help them be more understood, help ourselves understand better what they actually need, what they actually say, because we see that with this huge amount of grace and growth that is happening with children and their capability, skills, sensitivities that can serve development, their development, and of course society development later on. There is also a great challenge and even a crisis around the understanding of children today and relationships between parents and children. So in this gap, I'm trying to put some homeopathic drops, which are to do with the mental and emotional understanding of natural assisted growth, as I call it. And yes, so today outside my usual setting, I'm in a friend's house, and I wanted to speak about these terminologies, consciousness versus automatic, and what is actually consciousness. And I chose 3 areas out of probably more than 3 that we can see this consciousness at work. Okay, so to say again that any questions that you have, please send me either privately. If I can't see it here because it's a Zoom sharing, write me later. Great. So the automatic parenting is not a bad one. It's not to say this is bad and this is better. It's actually a gift of creation for every mother and for every father. And this is what we call the instinctual, right, parenting, because we all have this instinct to love our children, to protect them, to make them feel warm physically and also not only physically, wanted, and nourish them, yeah, give them what they need to eat, they need to feel good in their bodies and so on. It's a lot about the physical, but not only, because this instinct is so strong, and even the emotions of falling in love with a baby is also an automatic, because it's also a gift given to us at a very beginning of life. One of the moms used to describe that as each time she gave birth, there was like a whole new drawer was opening herself with amazing sensations and emotions that she didn't think she had and she would have ever. and how it's elevated her whole being. Yet, on the top of this automatic development for every parent, and even the automatic today, we should not take it for granted, because even the automatic present being open at the very beginning of life should can flare, can thrive in the right ecology, right? Where it is safe for the parents and the child, either physically or mentally, psychologically, emotionally, because only in this state of being we can actually flare. So I just want to say this automatic is being given is like a push of creation, and it's part of the blueprint that we all being given, which I call it the blueprint of success, right? The coding of success is embedded in every human child and in every human. But to speak about it more is somewhere else. But the conscious one is even a next stage effort in which parents can better understand, better perceive, better make a real effort also in hard times or good times to always like push the limits of themselves and try to look better and understand better from what's happening on every stage of life. I call it the 5 A's that goes with this conscious parenting. It should be aware and attuned and alive and active and awake, right? So it should take us to do some effort of ourselves forward. And in a way, I also call it to do halfway to the children, because the children come to us. You know, they don't know how to speak or how to transfer their messages, even the cues of what they are trying to say. And babies are amazing communicators. We should be there in this very gentle, acute listening to actually grasp, to let the instinctual intuition work its part. It takes effort and it takes try one after the other, where we open up not only the understanding of how to be a parent to babies, but also how to be a parent to our own unique child. And each child carries a whole uniqueness that might be different from another child. And I say to parents, you know, there's no one method. For me, each child brings his own method to his parents, and the consciousness is revealing what is this method in which my baby or my child needs to be attended. And once we are going halfway to meet them, something happens. At the very beginning of life in our culture, usually we were not given the training, but I'm sure within the next few years, decades, it's all going to be open up, because it's not only a training of what to do or not to do, it's also a training of the who we are, and we bring ourselves into presence as parents. The child's growth at the beginning of life is mainly emotional, right, development, and psychological, and even spiritual, as they come from consciousness. This is their entry point, and we see it even in the brain, because the dominance of the first 3 years of life, the development is being dominated by the right hemisphere, which is about emotions, relationships, and about where they're coming from to land into this sphere here on the planet. And later on, and at the same time, they develop their skills and abilities to be active. So it goes hand in hand. But for us, it means to also be able to contain this emotional growth, psychological growth. How hard it is to be with a child that is crying so hard for so long and to actually contain it. And how we were trained, at least here, I don't know, in your country, but in a way, not to contain the cry or say, to try to hush it, to try to not allow it the space. I would just give an example that one counsel I give to parents who are having a crying baby, for sometimes it's a tantrum toddler, or is really to go into this state which can escape our emotional involvement. Hard to do, and this is part of the parenting development here. And listen deeply into what is this child is actually showing me now. What is he trying to say? Just this space, and sometimes it's only the listening. Maybe we don't get any understanding or revelation of what's going on, but just offering the space of containment and being interested and being empathizing with the child at that moment can make a whole change. So this part of consciousness, this conscious parenting, I call it, the ability to be aware of the natural constitution, of the natural way we are composed, because there is a line of development in which things happen in their timing. And like this very initial seed, is open up until it flares. So we can see it very clearly in the first 9 months, right? We know what's happening on the 16th week and what's happening at the 37th week. And I'm not speaking only about what happens in terms of the development of the organ and the physical body. Today we have more glimpse and understanding about also what happens in the psyche development. It goes on, and if I give one example, that is a part of our misunderstandings and missing knowledge as well. For example, what we call the terrible two. So at age 2, this young toddler started saying no, right? Or somewhere between 2. And it doesn't end at age 2. It lasts usually until the very strong saying no, either the parents or society or the world or whatever. Sometimes you can see the little ones, they would be asked if they want something and they would say no, although they want to. And this is where the no brain kicks in at the age 2. So what we call the terrible 2 is actually an amazing process of the natural constitution, that at that age, something else opens up. After 3 years almost of being in the womb, 9 months, and then 2 years growing up, where the child was as like a sponge to take the world in, whatever was there, he could not make a choice. He just sucked it all in mentally, the values, the ways and means, the behaviors, the patterns. So that was his constitution at that very beginning of life. But then at age 2, suddenly he can push away the world. and something of his uniqueness and of his own skills and speciality, which every child carries, start to wake up and start to come into the platform, into action. So when we know that, we can say, wow, amazing. Congratulations for the new stage, right? And if we don't know it, it really annoys us. Why is this little one now won't put this shirt on, won't do the usual things that we do in the morning? So this is an example of this penetration of insight that the consciousness about what happens in the different stages can allow us. Okay, so this is one of the consciousness and abilities that we can adopt. I want to add two more concepts just to open up the mind, this is what it's all about, and these very short lives, and contemplate with it later, see what it means for you, how it goes for you. And the second one is realizing the natural needs, and that are the infrastructure, as I say, of the human, of the Homo sapiens sapiens, that is who we are. And the natural needs of children, I'm not speaking only about the physical, which of course they have their own place of honor, but also the spiritual, emotional, essential. This is part of the essence of who we are, because the Homo sapiens sapiens was developed to bring with it certain qualities and growth that were not expected beforehand. And maybe now in the next evolution, even more, we can see those qualities shine. It's about care, it's about humanity, it's about understanding, it's about forbearance, forgiveness, so many of those gems. But at the beginning of life, this is like, okay, when it's all shared and worked on throughout life in conscious way, at the very beginning of life, the needs, essential needs of every child is to do with security, first of all, to feel safe. And he's feeling safe when he's being seen, being included, being wanted, being accepted. And in very small ways, we may think, we reflect on a behavior, but the child do not make the separation. So we need to find more ways to reflect on behavior in a way that will accept the child itself, because the child cannot make the difference if he is not being received or being treated too harshly for a long period of time. He may feel that he is not good enough or not wanted. So the very, very beginnings and the initial needs for children, because the very start composes and crystallizes their sense of self, their appreciation of who they are, needs to be considered again. So this is again going from the automatic, and the automatic is not only what creation granted us, it's also what we have inherited from our own childhood, from our own parents, and line of genetics, not only our parents, but it was transferred through the generation. And now we have, with all this amount of knowledge and opportunities for mothers and parents, fathers, we have the opportunity to make a stop, take a breath and consider. And although it is so hard to change what in the moment comes out so quickly from the automatic responses, once we are allowing ourselves to be embedded in the process, it becomes possible. And without the need to be perfect, but with the wish to be more conscious. And that takes us to the third, which really each and every one of these consciousness, of course, they intertwine and work with each other very well. But the other one that I do want to mention here and maybe tell two stories about. And I mentioned 0 to 3 because this is the very beginning, but we can see it also moving on. And as we grow in ourselves, we grow with the parents, we go with our children. So the third line of consciousness, I call it the consciousness, as what was started to be said, of our own childhood, of our own growth patterns, our own inheritance as emotional events that happened and things that were not sorted out. They were left open, not because someone wanted to hurt us or someone had the intention for us not to grow well. It's all lack of consciousness. And once we feel this amazing present that the children give parents in this amazing workshop, that relationships between parents and children are actually all, the purpose of it, they're all attuned for growth. Once we understand that and we take out the automatic as, parenting, I know what to do with this. And sometimes we do need to know what to do with this, that, or the other. Not everyone knows that I'm on the live, sorry, put here in the airplane mode. So everything that was not sorted from our own childhood will come up to the picture, and the most amazing thing is that the child will reflect it to us, in a way, press the buttons that are not worked out in us. There is a beautiful song in Israel. It's called "This Is My Second Childhood with You," and it's a father singing to his child that actually every stage of the child, so when he's 3, the child is 3, the father reflects on, the child evokes from the father things about him that happened, experiences, memories that happened when he was 3. And then it goes on to 4 and 5 and 6. And he says, this is my second childhood with you because I have the chance to work on my own childhood. And it's so amazing. It was written a long time ago. And this is the essence that actually is happening behind the scene, where we are not all aware about it. And because when we are aware, we can stop in the moment, the big emotion that wants to come into the picture from the automatic, because our own primitive structures, even of the brain, the amygdala, send the sign, there's something happening here that is of a threat and you should do something about it. That was engraved maybe when you were 3, but when our child does something of the same flavor, it activates the amygdala, this place in our primitive brain that sends the signals. There's a problem here. We need to react now. We need to protect now. And that's a very easy path to be reactive and come to the big emotions that were engraved. in our histories. A story about this one and this whole line of consciousness of our internal processes is not about the child now, it's about the inner child that is in every parent. It's about the father that I used to see. And one time he told me, okay, my child, he was 3, sitting on me and crying his heart out. I mean, he was so out of his way, this crying. And all I wanted to do is to hold him. And I knew that all I wanted to do is to soothe him. But I couldn't do that. All I felt is huge anger, huge amount of wanting to, push him away, and could not contain it. And he said, I didn't know what is going on. And that's exactly the example of how it can be felt in our parenting. Another story is of a mother. She had a 12-year-old child, yeah, a boy, that when he got into this age of almost puberty, he would slam doors in the house. So whenever something he was not satisfied about, he would slam the doors. And that took her out of her mind and out of her balances. And she used to scream at him in a way that she was surprised. And, why am I so overreactive? And this is the signal for us when it happens, because we get so much overreactive then. And in the process of revealing our own earlier experiences, she remembered, that her father was very angry and used to slam doors in the house, and she was so frightened about it as a young child, as a young girl. So once we understand, once we learn to know about the inner child, our own histories, our own emotions, patterns, and memories, and ask the right question, the right processes, it can evoke something that, at least for the moment, can in a way halt those running horses of the primitive mind, of the big emotions, of the big reactions, and in a way slow down and take into consideration something more that is actually at play. So this was a glimpse of 3 kinds of consciousness possible at the very beginning of life. Of course, it lasts a lifelong. I felt the relationships between parents and children are the most fascinating thing on earth. Once we agree to receive what is, once we agree to take a breath and to observe and to take a moment before reacting. And it is a whole training unto itself in a mindfulness way. Once we agree to be curious and interested, it can shift the whole situation, the whole dynamics and interaction, and lead into the new discoveries, lead ourselves into the edge of ourselves, exploring more of what is possible for ourselves, for our own growth, and for the children. There's so much more that could be said, and that I'll try to see for the next few weeks of August. Have a good evening or morning or noontime, wherever you are, and see you soon again. Bye-bye.